previously on Gearz.
Look at the world of motorsport. I'm sure you heard it all yesterday in the sports news, but if you haven't, let me just tell you, it's something that I must say I mentioned on Gearz and I mentioned on Supersport last year. I said, guys, Honda are going to come back. And wow, yesterday was confirmed. From 2015, McLaren will team up again with Honda. I got a guy tweeting me this morning going, geez, McLaren going to be using a Honda. And I'm going, their most successful ever campaign in Formula One for McLaren.
1988, Ayrton Senna.
Yeah, was with Honda.
15 of the 16 races. I know my stuff, eh?
Well done. What was the car called? The McLaren MP44. I got a model of it at home. Big one like this.
Really?
Yeah. It is just fantastic news that we're getting Honda back. Maybe this will spur the likes of Toyota to come back. Don't know about the other Germans like a BMW, but maybe Toyota decide to come back into Formula One as well. Now, the only concern that this is now, and I'm getting so many reports, people going, the prices of these new Formula One engines from next season are going to be very, very expensive. And they are, because from next year, 2014, you're only going to have 3 suppliers of engines: Renault, Ferrari, and Mercedes. Those 3. Next year, the rules change. It's got to be a 1.6 litre turbo engine. The amount of research and development that is going into each of these 3 manufacturers to produce these engines is immense. And that's why they're going to have to charge all of the other teams to use their power. So you could have Williams Renault. They're still with Renault at the moment. They could be a Williams Ferrari, for example. You could have a McLaren Ferrari. You could have a Red Bull Ferrari. It all depends on what deals get struck up. But there are talks saying the minimum for an engine is going to be in the region of $15 million a year, up to $25 million, depending on the engine that you buy. Apparently Ferrari's got the cheapest engine. But
that's lots of money.
It's a huge amount of money. And a lot of the teams, 7 of the Formula One teams, have come out and said, listen, this is actually too expensive. The problem is, all of the teams agreed to these rules a couple of seasons ago. It's not as though all of a sudden they decided, today, we're going to have 1.6 litre engines. They've known this for 2 years. So the problem is I don't think they realized how expensive it was going to be. From reports in Germany, Renault Sport say their fee is going to be 23 million euros. Mercedes-Benz say it's anywhere between 18 and 20 million euros, while Sauber and Marussia are being asked for 15 million euros by Ferrari to be part of the new teams from next year. In 2015, it looks like Honda will supply McLaren for free, but they will make those engines available to everybody else. Remember, Williams and Honda have a great history in Formula One as well. So it's going to get very messy before it's going to be cloudy before it gets light, before we understand all of these things coming up in the future. Moving away a little bit from Formula One for a second, we go to the DTM. Their next round is this weekend at Brands Hatch in the UK. Now, they're also using different tires, different compounds, like in Formula One. But the problem is, Hankook, who do the tires, had the same problem that Pirelli had 2 seasons ago. When the cars are going, it's quite difficult to identify the color and to see who's on the softer or harder compound of the tire. So DTM have now got a display that's going to be up in the graphics for the television screens and the timing screen. So when you're there on the various screens around, you'll be able to see which driver is driving on what tires. Okay. So it's all about engine deals at the moment, with the news that Honda will be returning, but that's only in 2015. So Honda are going to have a whole year next year to see what Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes and Renault are doing, and from there hopefully create something quite spectacular for the McLaren side in 2015. Now, okay, before I get into our last story in Formula One, let's just go to Le Mans MotoGP practice for today. At the moment, Danny Pedrosa, fastest man for Honda, and he's 0.04 of a second faster than Jorge Lorenzo. Valentino Rossi 0.3 down on the pace. Nicky Hayden on the Ducati 0.3 down on the pace as well, and Andrea Dovizioso 0.4 down on the pace. So that's great news for Ducati. You just got to hope that they manage to continue that during the course of the weekend as well, because unfortunately it does seem that they sometimes fall off. Marc Marquez, the Wunderkind, he's half a second down. He's down there in 7th position. Those are the times coming out of Le Mans for this weekend's MotoGP weekend. Now, here is a very interesting story. And you would have heard me on Monday talking about the tyres in Formula One and saying, listen, why are we all getting our knickers in a knot just all of a sudden because Red Bull aren't winning? Now all of a sudden there seems to be a problem with the tyres. So Ferrari have come out, and on their Ferrari homepage, on their blog, they've put out a very, very nice little, tongue-in-cheek but realistic press release, which reads like this. I think I should read you something. It goes, less than 24 hours after Lotus boss Eric Boullier vented his frustration at Pirelli's decision to change tyres mid-season, Ferrari has now voiced its feelings on the matter, saying that it is baffled as to why teams are upset at there being 4 stop races. This is what they had to say. Fernando Alonso's victory in Spain last weekend was helped by the fact that his outfit was convinced from as early as Friday that the best strategy for the race was a 4-stop. Title rival Sebastian Vettel's race floundered when Red Bull failed to make a 3-stop work and had to slot in for an extra change of tyres. So it says, in a return of the Horse Whisperer column that was published on the Ferrari website on Friday, the team wrote, it seems one must feel ashamed for choosing a strategy that, as always for the matter, is aimed at getting the most out of the package one has available. On top of that, if this choice emerges right from the Friday, because of all the simulations are unanimous in selecting it, then why on earth should one feel embarrassed when compared to those who have gone for a different choice, only to regret it during the race itself? Ferrari reiterated the point that Red Bull's criticisms about the tyre strategies in Spain come just 2 years after Sebastian Vettel triumphed at Barcelona with a 4-stop strategy. The column said, these are difficult times for people with poor memories. Maybe it's because of the huge amount of information available today that people are too quick to talk, forgetting things that happened pretty much in the recent past. Or maybe the brain cells that control memory only operate selectively depending on the result achieved on the track by their owners. A classic example of this is the current saga regarding the number of pit stops. It's a very interesting read. I'll post that whole art. Well, I've posted it up on my Facebook page, but I'll post it up on the Balls page for you to read as well. It just gives you a little bit of a different insight, saying things have changed, but it's amazing they've actually stayed the same. And now, because the one team's not doing that well, they are shouting. If it was the reverse roles, if Ferrari had this domination and now somebody else said, we're going to change it, and Ferrari started complaining because they weren't winning, there would be a furore at the moment. So it's a very interesting column. It's something worth reading. I'll post it up on the Balls page for you a little bit later. All right.
At the next intersection, turn on
Gearz with Sasha Martinengo.
weekdays from 12 to 2 p.m. Central African Time.